Let's get things started. Ready? Go!
Hello and welcome to Bounding Into Comics. My name is John Trent. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief at Bounding Into Comics. And today I got a story about Lashana Lynch claiming that reaction to her being cast in the new James Bond film, No Time to Die, reminded her of Segregation, despite one of her biggest critics being the first black Bond girl, Trina Parks. Before we get to that, I'd like to ask if you could please hit that subscribe button if you are not already subscribed. If you are already subscribed, please make sure you are still subscribed because YouTube does like to unsubscribe people for whatever reason, and then hopefully you'll share this video with your friends and family. As I was saying, actress Lashana Lynch, who played Maria Rambeau in Captain Marvel and is set to play Nomi in the upcoming James Bond film No Time to Die, recently claimed that reaction to her being cast in the film reminded her of Segregation. Speaking with The Guardian to promote the upcoming film, Lynch claimed the response to her casting was generally positive. However, she went on to note that some messages she received and conversations she saw reminded her of Segregation. But before we get into what she actually says, let's provide some background. That backlash to her casting first came after a rumor noted that Lynch's character would be taking on the 007 moniker in the film. In July 2019, the Daily Mail reported that Lynch would play 007 in the film after Daniel Craig's James Bond retires. A source told them, quote, "There is a pivotal scene at the start of the film where M says, 'Come in, 007,' and in walks Lashana, who is black, beautiful, and a woman. It's a popcorn-dropping moment. Bond is still Bond, but he's been replaced as 007 by this stunning woman," the source added. Following this rumor, Harper's Bazaar published an interview with Lynch with a headline that read, quote, "Lashana Lynch on making history as the first black female 007. In the article written by Yersa Daily War, it proclaimed, quote, "Today, on a still Saturday morning in August, Lynch is doing precisely that, chatting to me warmly and directly about her latest and surely career-defining role in No Time to Die, the Bond franchise's 25th release, in which she stars as Nomi, the secret agent who inherits the 007 title, while Bond himself is in exile." In the interview, Lynch didn't confirm she would be 007, but she also discussed backlash to her casting and noted that she is part of something, quote, "very, very revolutionary." She said, "I am one black woman. If it were another black woman cast in the role, it would have been the same conversation. She would have got the same attacks, the same abuse. I just have to remind myself that the conversation is happening and that I'm part of something that will be very, very revolutionary." Now, with you having that background context, Lynch, speaking with The Guardian, claims she will not be 007. She stated, "No, you don't want me." She then added, "I'd just be like, right, so where do you start again?" However, she went on to add, "We are in a place and time where the industry is not just giving audiences what it thinks the audience wants, they're actually giving the audience what they want to give the audience." Lynch then asserted, "With Bond, it could be a man or woman. They could be white, black, Asian, mixed race. They could be young or old. At the end of the day, even if a 2-year-old was playing Bond, everyone would flock to the cinema to see what this 2-year-old's gonna do." No, absolutely not. I don't know if she's being tongue-in-cheek here. It doesn't come off tongue-in-cheek in The Guardian's publication of her words. It doesn't come tongue-in-cheek here. I don't think anyone wants to go see a 2-year-old playing James Bond. Absolutely not. This is just a ridiculous claim. Lynch then went on to indicate that her character is supposed to be, quote, "a match for Bond." She said, "I think they were just looking for someone who would be able to be a match for Bond, who would be able to stand up and be vocal and forthright and strong and able to handle a weapon, able to handle herself, and not someone who takes any crap from anybody at all." Then, as it unfolded, she became this quite complicated, free, open-minded, vocal human being who brings a really nice twist to MI6. Has she not watched a Bond film? There are plenty of Bond characters who are stand-up, vocal, and forthright. They're strong and can handle a weapon. There are a ton of them. Like, just pick any Bond film, you can probably find over a dozen characters that are like that. Still, she went on to explain what she wanted from the character from writer Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She told Bridge this is what she wanted. "I said, I want her to be a real woman, but I don't want her work to make her masculine. She's not slick, she has it together, she's highly competent and very highly skilled, but she's a real human being and sometimes she's awkward." And that's what is so clever about Phoebe's writing. Once we had a conversation about her possibly being awkward, there were some moments that I read that were just like, oh no, is she really going to say that in the scene? I'm so here for it. That clever writing includes scenes featuring tampons thrown in the trash and Lynch's character picking her nose and pulling out a wedgie. She said, I thought there might be a scene where she's coming out of the toilet and you see her throw her tampon in the bin. We don't need to make a meal out of it, but we're in the ladies' room. You're going to see someone pick their nose or pull out their wedgie. Bottom line, this woman is going to be relatable. I don't think I want to see anyone picking their nose or pulling out a wedgie or throwing anything in the trash in a James Bond film. The only thing I want to see in a bathroom in a James Bond film is an action scene like we saw in the most recent Mission Impossible film, where people are getting beat the crap up, their heads thrown into the wall, the toilet's being slammed over their head, stuff like that. That's what you want to see in a bathroom scene, not anything about people picking their noses or pulling out their wedgies or throwing a tampon in the bin. That's not clever, it's just stupid and a waste of your time. Throw it in the trash. That's the only thing that should be thrown in the trash, is this writing, because it's trash. And now we get to the part of the interview where Lynch compared the backlash to Segregation. She said, "The response was generally positive, but there were some very personal messages to me, like Insta DMs and Twitter, and just conversations that my friends had heard or overheard on the tube that were really mean, dark, and reminiscent of an age I wasn't even born in, where women and black people weren't allowed to move in certain spaces. So it also reminded me about the work that I still have to do to try to change the world in a little way that I know how." She then went on to compare her experience to England's defeat in the UEFA European Football Championship. She said, "Well, I wasn't surprised at the response from the football, which is really sad for me to have to say. If you are a black person in entertainment or a black person in sport and you fail, you're reminded that you cannot do both. You cannot be black and entertain and fail. You have to be black and entertain and win it for the country and win it for the world and win it for history." Someone get Kevin Hart on the line. I'm pretty sure he was canceled from hosting the Oscars. I would think that's a fail, but he's bigger and better than ever now. He's got a talk show called Heart to Heart. He's working on a number of different projects. He's executive producer on a show called Celebrity Game Face. He's a producer on Fatherhood. He's going to be in the next Borderlands film. I mean, seriously, like, he probably had one of the biggest failings of his career by backing out of the Oscars, and he's back on top already. So I just don't buy that explanation that she's giving. You can also look at Wesley Snipes. The dude went to jail for tax evasion, and he's still just as loved. I mean, people wanted him to be Blade. Just because Marvel didn't choose that doesn't mean that people weren't wanting Wesley Snipes to return as Blade. And then maybe to put the cherry on top of this is that one of the biggest critics of Lynch's casting and the rumor about her playing 007 was the first black Bond girl, Trina Parks. Parks spoke with the Daily Mail about Lynch taking on the role of Agent 007, where she said, "Lashana is a great actress, but I don't really agree with her becoming 007. It's not about her color, a black James Bond, sure, but as a man. It's just because Bond, the spy, codenamed 007, was written by Ian Fleming as a man, Miss Bond doesn't have the same ring to it." Now, I disagree with her. I don't think that James Bond should be black either. I think he should be a white guy the way he was written. But Parks also made this really interesting comment. She said, "I think that there are lots of movies already where you have a woman taking center stage, defeating men, and I like that. But I don't feel James Bond has to go there. It's been a tremendous franchise since the 60s, and they've always been innovators, not followers. They set a standard. That has remained a classic film with a man as Bond. That's how I think it should say." I totally agree with her. I don't think there's any reason to try and mix up or change the formula that makes James Bond great. There's a reason why he is an iconic character. It's because that formula works so well. It's because James Bond is James Bond. That's my thoughts on the matter. Let me know what you think of Lynch's recent claims about backlash to her casting and comparing it to Segregation. My name is John Trent, and you've been watching Bounding into Comics.